Welcome back to Sci-Fi Recaps. Today, I will show you an action and adventure space sci-fi film from 2025 titled Star Trek, Section 31. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film begins with a flashback that explains how Georgiou rose to power and became so ruthless. A young Georgiou returns home to her family in the rural outer reaches of the Terran Empire, after enduring a brutal 2-year contest to select the next emperor. It's down to her and one other contender, a guy named San she's become friends with even though friendship is forbidden, and only one test remains. Her family begins to cough and choke on the food she served them. Yes, she poisoned them to prove she's severed all ties with her old life. After their death, a ship materializes, and the old emperor declares her the winner, while San is sentenced to be her slave. San tries to appeal to Georgiou's kinder side, but she holds a white-hot sword blade against his face, burning him before raising it in the air in victory. In present day, Georgiou is snacking on eyeballs at a nightclub she owns when she's approached by Alok, a member of Starfleet's Secret Ops Unit Section 31. He invites her to partake in dulcet thistles, a euphoric drug he's pushing, but she knows he's Section 31 and demands to know what he's doing there. He's not alone either. Also in the club are shapeshifter Quasi, Zeph, who wears a mechanized bodysuit, a seductive Deltan named Mel, a giggly Vulcan named Fuzz, and Lieutenant Rachel Garrett. Georgiou scoffs that Starfleet is where fun goes to die. But Alok tries to convince her to join their mission and get back in on the action on a galactic scale. She meets the team and learns that Fuzz is actually an android with a tiny mollusk-like creature inside controlling his movements. Garrett is the taskmaster who's there to keep everyone in line, and Quasi is a little afraid of Georgiou, since her murderous reputation precedes her. Their mission, should Georgiou choose to accept it, track down bioweapon designer Data Noe and keep him from selling his destructive new superweapon to the Minosian High Council. Alok lays out their plan, with Quasi shapeshifting as Georgiou and Fuzz's mollusk floating inside Data Noe's body mod to take control. But Georgiou dismisses their strategy, opting for her own. She has a better idea. She welcomes Data Noe to her club and escorts him to his suite, where she tosses a magnetic gadget onto his bioweapon carrying case. Georgiou presses a button on her belt, and now she and the case are both vibrating on a different wavelength, letting them phase through normal matter like ghosts. She makes off with the case until a masked man enters the room on her wavelength, demanding the weapon. He and Georgiou fight for it, chasing each other through walls and duking it out on the nightclub's main stage. The masked man disintegrates Mel with his phaser in the scuffle, and when Georgiou gets stuck inside a wall mid-phase, he opens the case to reveal an ornate globe. Georgiou is shocked, but the masked man transports away with the weapon, and Georgiou is left shaken by what she saw. We flash back again to a young Georgiou as Terran Emperor, with San bowing before her and presenting her with that same weapon. "It's so powerful," he says. "The people who made it took their own lives after it was complete." He and Georgiou reminisce about the bond they once shared. But now, San declares, the beautiful girl he knew has been murdered. He collapses to the floor after taking the same poison she fed her family, telling her before he keels over dead, "No one wants to live in your world, Emperor. You are a monster," he exclaims. Back in present day, Alok has Georgiou tied up in a safe house and demands to know what that weapon is. But she needs to know more about him first. He reveals his origins as a 20th century human enhanced to fight in a war. Georgiou tells the Section 31 team about the weapon. It's called the Godsend, and she had it built to suppress all threats of a rebellion against her. It can incinerate a quadrant full of planets in the blink of an eye, and she doesn't know how it got here. She suspects Data Noe is from the Terran Empire, and she and Alok interrogate him, getting him to admit he worked at a Terran weapons facility where the Godsend was stored. He stole it hoping to sell it, entering this universe through a passage that opened when 2 ion storms converged. The passage will open again in 4 hours, and the Terrans will come looking to find the weapon and use it to destroy everything. Who was the masked man, though? Noe doesn't know and supposes it might be someone who has a connection to them. After a big explosion kills off Noe, Alok realizes they must have a mole among them. The Section 31 team members all eye each other with suspicion, but they need to get back to work, with just 4 hours until the Terrans arrive. Garrett found an old ship they can use to get off the planet, and Alok orders the others to set up an antenna to alert Starfleet. But someone ripped out all the wires on the antenna, and the old ship is missing a coil and won't fly without it. While they work on fixing the antenna, Zeph goes missing. They search for Zeph outside, thinking he's the mole, and find him dead underneath a tree. Georgiou spots a brunette hair strand on his bodysuit. Does that mean Garrett is the culprit? She denies it, but then they find Zeph's blood underneath her fingernails too. Georgiou is ready to carve Garrett up when they get an alert about footage from Zeph's bodysuit. It shows Zeph fighting someone we can't see before killing himself, and Georgiou figures it out. The tiny mollusk Fuzz set the Vulcan android on autopilot and flew inside Zeph's bodysuit and took control of it, killing him and planting evidence on Garrett. Fuzz is the mole. Fuzz escapes in Zeph's bodysuit and zips away on a high-speed platform, with Georgiou and Alok chasing right behind. Alok gets knocked off, with Quasi saving him by shapeshifting into a web and catching him, and Georgiou finally catches up to Fuzz and hints that San is still alive. Before she can find out more, he beams away to a ship where, indeed, he meets San, who now possesses the Godsend. He built up an immunity to the poison. In 2 hours, the Terran Empire will take over unless Georgiou and Section 31 can stop them. Alok reveals he took the coil from the ship in order to flush out the mole, so he replaces it, and they get it up and running. It's an old garbage scow equipped with a tractor beam to collect debris, and that's the closest thing they have to a weapon. They confront San's ship and use the tractor beam to drag his ship into a radiation field to disable his shields. Georgiou and Alok beam aboard his ship, and she and San fight it out for control of the weapon. Alok and Fuzz fight too, with the mollusk escaping in a tiny shuttle. The Godsend gets knocked over, activating its detonation sequence, and San claims he'll use it to control an empire. But there are no benevolent dictators, San, Georgiou reminds him. She tries to reconnect with San on an emotional level, but he's determined to fight to the death. Alok manages to deal a devastating blow to Fuzz, while Garrett rigs up an old toy to explode, taking the tiny mollusk's ship out with it. San grabs a sword and nearly stabs Georgiou with it, but she fights back and San is fatally stabbed in the throat. "This is not what I want," she cries as he falls to the ground. "I still needed you," he admits, calling her my love before dying in her arms. With the passage to the Terran universe about to open, Georgiou activates the Godsend, rigging it up to go off in 60 seconds and aiming the ship directly at the passage. She's ready to sacrifice herself to snuff out the Terrans, and Alok is prepared to join her, but Quasi beams them to safety just in time, with the Godsend's explosion collapsing the gateway. In a final epilogue weeks later, Alok and the Section 31 team try to convince Georgiou to join them permanently. She agrees reluctantly, adding her own flair to the team. Fuzz is back, but this time controlled by the tiny mollusk's wife, Wisp. The Starfleet commander pops up in hologram form to give them their next mission, and the film ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.